How's it going today, my friends? Mr. Green here. We are back working on this off-road dune buggy. The motor is out now and all ready. We've just got the dune buggy flipped around now, and now it's time to completely disassemble this thing. This is part 2. If you are a little bit behind, you can go back and check part 1. I'll put a link to it down in the description, where we took this car out of a 1997 Pontiac Firefly, all 55 horsepower of it. So, but we are going to change that in the future. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to, my son and I are going to start disassembling all of this and get it back down to just the frame so that we can start framing out for where the new engine's going to go and where the lower A-arms are going to attach. And it will be a different kind of suspension than what we have here. So yeah, first things first is just get this all disassembled, and then we'll bring you guys back and show you once we get back down to the main frame. Okay, my friends, I've started laying out the new frame. I've welded on, you can see this, I put a plate on the bottom of this tubing and then welded this big bolt on there, and now it's going to be attached right there and right there. And what these are on the bottom A-arms. That is what will go into, and then that will continue back. This part here will continue back and attach that rubber piece and that bracket, or whatever you want to call it. So that's the plan. So yeah, I have to get these welded on now, and then we'll weld another piece over top of that, and then we got to figure out engine mounts and a whole bunch of different stuff. So there's a lot of work coming, but you know, just take it step by step. So I'll bring you back here once I got a little bit more done, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, my friends, we are slowly trying to get this motor in here. I do not have an engine hoist, and it is the one tool that I wish I had. I just don't have 500 bucks to blow on one right now. But doing jobs like this, and I have it hooked up to my four-wheeler with a winch and a line over, and trying to get this into place. I've got both of the bottom A-arms locked into place, and now the motor is just kind of floating there, but I've got to get everything lined up, and one of my yokes came out of the drive line, so that's kind of a nuisance. I've got to get that back in. I can kind of show you here. See how it slipped out of the yoke there? So that's terrible. That's going to be a nightmare to get fixed. But as for everything else lining up, I think everything's going to be good. It's just, you know, I'm going to have to figure out motor mounts and all of that next. So, but I need to kind of get this motor lifted into place somewhat, and then get it situated, because right now you can see it's kind of aimed back at me. So I've got to tip everything forward, and then start working on motor mounts and then tying this rear end together. But I didn't want to put that back piece on before I actually got the motor in, because if I wasn't able to lift it in there. So yeah, here we go, guys. We're going to kind of plug away here, and once I get, you know, this mess cleaned up and start working on motor mounts, I'll bring you guys back. Okay, my friends, I have now got the back supports on. These are just all temporary. Obviously a lot of this is going to get changed on the back and reinforced a lot more, but now it's all tied in. The rear A-arms are, other than I've got to get some plate to make this wider so that I can bolt on these. These will go on right here. So yeah, so those will go on there, and they'll be bolted on both sides. And same as the torsion bar here, that will be the same thing, or sway bar I guess it is. So I've got one issue right now. My ball joint here is pulling out. I don't even know what you call that joint, but it's pulling out, and I've got to get the whole motor to slide this way, but the oil pan is just about hitting this, so I've got to do some cutting and reinforcing and stuff here to get this motor to come over about another 1.5 inches to get these to seat into the pocket properly. So, but it's coming along pretty quick now. After that, it'll be getting to putting all of these motor mounts on. That's going to be a feat in itself. So, but yeah, every step we do, we're getting a little bit closer, guys. Yeah, obviously we'll have to build anchor points for these too. So, yeah, there is a lot of work to do still, but it is coming along. So I'll bring you guys back again once I get, the motor kind of in place and we start working on some motor mounts. Okay, my friends, I've got the first motor mount done. You can see it there, welded onto that back plate and then bolted through right there. So that's my first motor mount. That was a lot of work just to do that, and I am still going to structure it from here back to here, but I got to design where the radiator is going to go and all of that stuff still. So I'm just getting the motor mount so I can get all these ropes untied so that the motor is in its own place, and then I can start working on all the other stuff. So yeah, right now I'm just going to keep working along here and get these last 2 motor mounts, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, my friends, I know the frame isn't the nicest looking and things may change a little bit, especially with the back here. I'm not super happy about that. And keep in mind, these are just the tires that were on the car. So before I can put in the other ones, I need to get 1-inch wheel spacers to go from that hub size, or that hub, to the one that are on the front. Those they're Canada Bear Claw, I think they are. So anyways, I've got all of the engine mounts now. It is completely resting on engine mounts now. It's not on anything anymore. So this took all day to figure out all of these different mounts. So there's one mount right here, a bushing that I had taken off the original car and just spun it around, and that's the only one that's welded to the top. And we've got that big one across the back, which is also going to tie in a bunch of other things. And then this one right here. So I just made a bracket. Let me come maybe from this side, you can see better. So I just made a bracket and put it into the isolator bushing and welded onto the side. Now a lot of this is going to get grounded down and then plate welded over top of it just to reinforce it. And there's going to be a lot more stuff added for strengthening, and there's still a lot of probably 3 or 4 hours of just welding out, but I don't want to weld out everything yet until I know that's the way I want it, because right now this looks super boxy. Not happy with the way this looks on the back, but hey, things can change and that's no big deal. Okay, so next thing is going to be start getting all of this stuff on the bottom here attached, get those plates welded on, and then it's going to be dealing with wiring and these shocks or struts. So I have to figure out a way to mount these struts in here, put the tire on the right camber, and weld in strut mount. So never done anything like that before. Usually it's shocks, and they're much easier to deal with. So these struts, we'll see, they are designed for this weight of the engine and stuff, so it should be just fine. So yeah, that's my next thing, is I've got to figure out how to build strut supports and these other supports for the bottom. I'll try to get in some welding, showing me welding, and I've got both my machines out here, because I don't have a big enough shop to park this machine in, so I'm out in a tent shed with my machines, and using the plasma cutter when I need to, and yeah, kind of going along as I go. So I will be back here in a little bit, guys, and I'll give you guys an update on once I get more shit done. Okay, my friends, I've been working again. It's the next day. I did start working on the wiring a bit. I had to throw my apron over here because I was just welding. I've now built some, I guess, strut holders, I guess you'd call them. So not everything has been welded out. I still got to do a bunch of welding on this side. These came actually from an old set of ramps, like car ramps. So I took them apart and salvaged the steel because I think it's like, I don't know, 12 gauge or something. So it's relatively thick and will support that. And then I just ran 2 braces up into the center bar here, just to give added support, because when this thing's banging around I don't want anything to break. So now I still have this side to do. I have the 2 braces to do, so that's my next thing to do. And then yeah, I'm gonna get back to I guess wiring will be next. I've got to figure out a way to stop these tie rods from moving, so I need to weld a piece from here to here, and with a bolt, and shouldn't be too bad. I might just bolt it actually, just in case I ever have to remove it. I don't want to make it impossible for the parts that may have to be replaced in the future. So that's where I'm at right now, guys. Yeah, it's coming along. Oh, and I decided here to hold these bottom ones on here, I'm just going to use 3-inch muffler clamps. So I've got to get, I'm going to order 3 more, and then I'll have enough to cover both sides. And then I might do the same thing for this torsion bar, or just get rid of it altogether. But that's where I'm at right now, guys. Now keep in mind, I think this is all going to change in the back here. I think I'm going to come down, you know, maybe 2 swoops like this. Sorry, making the camera going all crazy. And that box right there is going to house the fuse box, and the computer are going to be in that box. So it's sealed, and if I need to get to it, I can. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I will I'll bring you guys back here in a little bit once I get a little further. Yeah, so I've got both of the fuse boxes mounted up there. Air intakes on. I've got, this is the rad from the 650cc or 600cc Kawasaki Ninja motor, and the motors are really not that much difference in cc's. So I am going to try this small radiator. There is obviously the one that came out of the car that's about twice the size. It just doesn't fit anywhere very good, and I've already had the mounts ready for this. So if it doesn't work, then I will, you know, figure out a way to rig up the other one. So I've started with some of the wiring. I've got to I want to change this back end here still, and I need to get the box installed for the computer and the other fuse box. So, and get the OB2 sensor hooked up too, because that's how I'm going to, if it works, I don't know in this year, I'm pretty sure it does, but I need to be, I want to be able to hook my phone up to it, and I have one of those jacks that go in the OBD2 sensor, and it will tell me my speed and RPMs and all of that stuff. So I'll be able to set that up at the front. So now that's all I've got done on the back. Now the front, I have completely stripped out the entire inside of the Buggy now. There's all the dash is gone. I'm just taking the plasma cutter and cutting all of this old stuff out. Steering, everything has all been cut out now. I do have the pile of steering components and all of that there. And I may have to widen the front end to get this rack and pinion steering to work, because it's just not as wide in the front as it is in the back. Which means making new A-arms and all of that, which could be a huge job. So we'll see. We'll see what I decide here to do next. But yeah, guys, it is coming along pretty good. I'm, you know, pleasantly impressed on how things are going. Now there is going to be some, you know, the one thing I'm worried about is figuring out the gear shifter. It's down here, and I can show you that's where it actually attaches, right to the here. Let me point to it. Yep, right there. And that's what comes in and out. Now, obviously this engine's flipped around, so the gear shifter would come out this way. So what I need to do is hook the gear shifter back up this way, then run through the gears, mark the position of the actual arm, and then hopefully I can, you know, make up a pivot point so that it works from the front. That's going to be one of my biggest challenges. I know it's going to be a big challenge, but, you know, if anybody has any ideas or, you know, has any input, please feel free to you know, tell me down in the description, or in the comment section. Now the back torsion bar is now just held on with these 2.5-inch clamps, which is more than fine. I need to get one more 3-inch one to hold the other A-arm on, and yeah, we're kind of moving along. So I will bring you guys back here once I get a little more done with the dash. Okay, my friends, I have now dismantled pretty much everything that was in here before. The dash and all the steering components. I took the hood off again, and when I was going in to fit the rack and pinion steering, my front end is just so much smaller than the rear end that rack and pinion will not work. So my goal is today is to build 2 new A-arms for each side, but they're going to be out to even with the back. So they'll be a lot wider, it'll be a lot more stable, and I think it's going to give it a better look. And I'm probably going to change out the shocks. I went and picked up all the metal. I know I'm still working with square tubing, and a lot of people want me to work with round tubing. And yeah, it would be a lot nicer, but I don't have a tube bender, and I don't have a notcher. And both of those are pretty expensive. So yeah, for now, this is the way it's going to go. Eventually, I'd love to get one. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there. But I will bring you guys back here once we start going to lay out the new A-arms and kind of go from there.